Before 8 here on 9 before here on the program, the Rastafari community will be marching against what they say is human rights violation and abuse. They say even though the Constitution advocates freedom of practice of all religions in the country, they are still discriminated against in their practice of their faith. To tell us more, the organiser of the event is with us here in studio. It's Thau-Thau Haramanuba. He's the chairperson of the Rastafari United Front. Good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Leanne, and good to have me too.
All right, let's talk about this march. So you'll be marching to the Constitutional Court here in Johannesburg, and I suppose it's important to know how the human rights of the Rastafari community are violated and abused in your view.
You see, in South Africa, Rastafari is considered to be one of the constitutionally recognized religion or faith-based communities. We take part in every national and social cohesion activities, whether they will be having some interfaith programs. We are part of all the interfaith structures in this country, be it National Interfaith Council of South Africa, the Freedom Park Interfaith. Sometimes we even get invited to form part of the Lituli House Interfaith.
Yeah.
So it's more like we're legal criminals. After we take off the VIP cards and everything, left stage, sharing the stage with the president, we get into the street, criminally profiled. You are stopped because you are Rasta. All abuses enters through the ganja, which not every Rasta really uses ganja, does not necessarily smoke ganja. So, but it goes to other things. Our houses are raided without search warrants. We have a lot of cases where we get beaten up by the police. And of all these faith-based communities that we have, we're the only faith-based community that goes to jail for our article of faith, which in this case is marijuana, that we use. It is central to our worship and so forth, even for medicinal purposes, textile purposes, and so forth.
What do you think is behind that? I mean, you know, the aggression and the abuse that you're talking about. Do you think it's predominantly aimed at the fact that there is this lifelong legacy that Rastafari and marijuana are associated with each other?
Partly like that. Partly, over the years, we are even beginning to develop a view that as much as sometimes in some Western countries they will use terrorism to try to destroy Islam. So I feel like there is this tendency of trying to use war on drugs to try to destroy the Rastafari community, because it then affects everything, school, work. Doors open and close for us because we are Rasta. You know, opportunities are given or withdrawn from us because we are Rasta. So marijuana play 1%, but it affects 99% of everything about us. People will see me in the street. The first thing is, yeah, German, don't you have little something there?
It's like the first impression that they would get.
Yes, and we have a lot to share to this. Like now is the 16 days of activism against women and children. We are the only society who call women queens, empress. We don't call them chicks and babies and cherry, because chick is a little chicken and a baby is a little human and a cherry is that little thing you put on top of ice cream. So we have even higher concept of woman, society, children, but we are not probed and asked about around these things, our contribution to that. So we are either called to come and pray, and after we go and pray, we are arrested in the street. So we are of the view that the 22 years democratic South Africa and its 20 years constitution is violating the rights of the Rastafari and committing basically a crime against this community.
This is not the first time you've marched. I mean, because this has happened a few times, but let's just take this year into consideration. So you're going to the Constitutional Court today, you're marching. Earlier this year, you marched on to Parliament. Did anything come of that?
We marched to Parliament on the 2nd of November, on the 2nd of March in Cape Town, with the Rastafari community in Cape Town. We submitted our memorandum to the Office of the President. We gave them 60 days. 60 days elapsed without any response. I met the president on the 24th of May in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, when we were called, all religious leaders, to come and pray for peace and to urge the society to stop burning schools and all these things. And then I talked to the president. I told him that our memorandum time frame has elapsed. He said, no, I'll get back to you. Give me the contact of the DG. Nothing came out of that. We marched on the 12th of October to the Protea Magistrate Court, because all Rastas arrested in Soweto, they are just dumped there at the Protea Magistrate Court. We gave them 30 days. Their 30 days elapsed on the 12th of November. no response.
Yeah,
Now we
yeah.
are going to the Constitutional Court, and because we don't even have luxuries of the litigations and get big time lawyers to argue our case, so we're just going to submit the memorandum to the Chief
It
Justice.
almost, from what you're saying, is that they're not taken seriously.
No, we are not being taken seriously.
Is this a global trend, though? Do you find that the Rastafari are taken seriously around the world? Is it unique to South Africa? Or is this struggle something that your colleagues and fellows around the world are going through too?
You see, right now, even our organization is in 13 African countries. I just came back from Jamaica, Brazil, and Panama to establish it there.
Yeah.
Last year, we went to 12 African countries. But we find that this is a phenomenon all over the continent and internationally. Although in South Africa, okay, we are one of the recognized religions, sometimes they call us. In some other countries, it gets even worse. It's brutalization, they lock you up and cut your hair and things like that. So basically, they don't take us serious. And our worry is, this is the only recourse we have. We don't burn tires. We don't barricade streets. We don't burn buildings like ordinary South Africans. Whenever they are dissatisfied about something, they will burn something to get attention, and we don't do none of the above.
Yeah. It's a bit. I mean, I've always known that Rastafari is a very peaceful, loving community. That's what you do. You're spreading love. I mean, that's
peace and love.
But there was back in 2012, the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities. It's a long word, but
the commission is a long name.
It's a long name, the CRL. But they released that report that was entitled "Challenges Facing the Rastafari Community." It was handed in, this was nearly 5 years ago.
Yes.
Anything come? They went in depth into the challenges facing the community.
Yes. They actually conducted a research and dialogue with our community from 2011 to 2012. They came up with a recommendation. We call them 44 recommendations. There are about 44 areas that the Rastafari rights are violated in this country. Directed to 10 government departments and the media and the South African Council of Churches. We saw the former chairperson, Reverend Mabuza. He moved around, he addressed a bit of parliamentary committees. From there, the whole thing stalled. We don't hear anything, no response. Everything that is detailed in the recommendation is not being taken into account. And that is one of the things we'll try to see if the Constitutional Court can force the South African government to implement the CRL Rights Commission's recommendations. Yes.
Let's now get to this issue at hand. You're doing this march. It's happening this morning. Give us a little bit of detail about it. Where are you meeting and the events that are going to happen?
We are marching. We will be gathering in Uvel on the 8th. This Thursday.
So it's this Thursday, I beg your pardon. It's happening Thursday,
Thursday
in
on the 8th. We're assembling by 10 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock we'll be leaving Uvel Recreation Center and going to the Constitutional Court. So we are expecting to hand our memorandum by 12:30 to the Chief Justice or the Chief Justice Office, and then thereafter we will be going back to Uvel, to the same place where we assembled and disbanded from there.
Okay,
yes.
All right. So this is happening on the 8th. That's this coming Thursday. It's at the Yeovil Recreation Centre. If you want to meet there, that's where it'll be happening. And then it's a march to the Constitutional Court. Just finally, on a closing note, and let's try and end it on a positive note for the recognition of marijuana and for medicinal purposes. We've seen a lot of developments with that South Africa may finally see the legalization of marijuana for medicinal purposes. A victory for you?
Not so much of a victory for us, considering the regulatory system that they're trying to put in place and everything. Like we were called to the marijuana roundtable for medicinal use by the Department of Social Development and Central Drug Agency. And when we reached there, we find it was very much of a bureaucratic process. Even where they talk about religious perspective on marijuana, they do not use the Rastafari or probe the Rastafari, their input. They are getting priests from another faith which does not use marijuana at all to come and give recommendations. But also we find that if marijuana get legal even tomorrow, the Rastafarian community will be the least beneficiaries. You'll be surprised how many white Dacha groups in this country, Dacha Party, Dacha Couple, Dacha Bure, Africannabis, there's a lot of them. And they have an added advantage. So basically it will be decriminalized for medicinal purposes. Straight it goes into the cooperatives and the big time people who have walled houses, basements to plant it there. farms and all these things. So we don't even have farms to plant when it is legalized and said, okay, now you can begin using it for medicinal purpose. But we've been saying that before anybody else, that this thing is a medicine. It cure asthma, it cure glaucoma, it cure bronchitis, it cure all manner of disease.
All right, well, let's see what comes of it. And again, I just emphasize it's something that could be a possibility here. We're getting closer to that medicinal legalization of marijuana in South Africa. But talking to us about the plight of the Rastafari community, we've had in studio with us Thau-Thau Haramanuba, the chair of the Rastafari United Front. Okay, let's now go over to Palesa. I think it's